Hi, welcome everyone. I'm Alexis Badenmare, Political Director of the Organic Consumers Association, and I am joined by Dr. Henry Ealy of the Energetic Health Institute.
One of the things we do at the Energetic Health Institute is we like to tell our students we teach you how to think, not what to think.
Mm,
If your belief system is a little different, that's totally cool. I'm not here to tell you that you're wrong for what you believe in. I'm here to help you critically think. And I love following the three pillars or the three filters from Socrates. Is it accurate? Is it kind? Is it necessary? I mean, these are basic skill sets for critical thinking. So what we've done is we take these challenging concepts in natural medicine and we explain them in a way that we hope makes sense and that a student can reuse because they've learned the thought process behind it and they can apply it. So we last week or 2 weeks ago we had talked about these 16 principles for eating healthy. What's the simplicity of it? Well, when you know what those 16 principles are, you can kind of check off. Okay, I do that when I do that when I do that. I could probably improve there. I do that when I do that. And you can start checking in. How many of these principles do I actually embody? Well, one of the principles is eating an alkalizing diet. And so we inevitably get, and I get this from always from scientist type people who are saying, well, the body stays very tightly controlled at 7.35 to 7.45 in terms of pH. And I say, well, that's not accurate. Number one, the bloodstream stays tightly controlled at 7.35 to 7.45. But different tissues of the body have different pHs. So that's, first thing you got to do is get out of ideology. We say don't force an ideology on your body's physiology.
mm,
Get out of the ideologies. The ideology is it's tightly controlled and it doesn't change. Well, tell me about the PubMed studies that show that the arterial blood gases can be at 7.27, which is relatively very acidic to the body.
mm.
You said that couldn't happen. There's proof right there in peer-reviewed studies on actual blood draws that it does. So I don't want to hear that. Then tell me, because I'm a systems integration person, I want to know how one system influences another system and this wonderful matrix we have going on that makes us up. Well, what we teach at the school is that the pHs of the body are all based upon the pHs of the bloodstream because we have 60,000, roughly 60,000 miles of blood vessels
Hmm.
in our body. So that makes it a pretty dominant system. I mean, you're not going to you've got to be able to get oxygen and nutrients to a cell and get waste away from that cell. I mean, that's why we have such an extensive network.
Wow.
So what we came up with at the school was to answer this question of pH, because you get these folks who then will go, well, yeah, but lemons, they say are alkalizing, but lemons have a pH that's very acidic. How does that work? That doesn't make sense. It's like, yeah, you're right. It doesn't make sense until you understand this phenomenon. When you're dealing with pH outside of the body, you're dealing with the pH scale of 0 to 14. Let me see if I can bring up an image right here for everyone, just because, some of us may not remember our, high school chemistry, class and everything, right? So outside of the body, if we take these substances, gastric acid, stomach acid, lemon juice, apple juice, all the way through to bleach, and we put a pH strip in them and test them, they'll basically fall into these areas right here. Pure water will, but most water isn't pure. So most water is going to be about 6 on here. So the way this pH scale works is from 0 to 14 or 1 to 14. You have a 7 as neutral. So think of this as a fence right here. And
Hmm.
anything that is to the right is going to be slightly alkaline to very alkaline or slightly acidic to very acidic. So the further you get away from neutral, the more acidic or basic or otherwise known as alkaline something becomes. Extremes in terms of the human body are pretty bad. All right. Body doesn't deal well with these. Like if we were to have like some really, really heavy alkaline stuff, that's going to be problematic for the body because the body's going to have to adjust to rebalance it. Remember, the bloodstream likes to be right in here.
Uh-huh.
So if we get really far away from that, then that's going to be a lot of work for the body to bring homeostasis back. Same thing with acid. But that's what happens outside of the body. So that's where what we call that is absolute pH. So yes, if you're measuring absolute pH and you're measuring absolute pH of a lemon, it's going to be acidic. We don't teach absolute pH at the school. And this has been the big error, I think, in the teaching on alkalinity and nutrition and why it loses credibility because it's not explained properly. What we teach at the school is relative pH, or what we call net effect pH. And we teach net effect pH because net effect pH is I don't care what the pH of that substance is outside of the body. There'll be times where the pH is alkaline, and when it comes in the body, it's alkaline. There'll be times where the pH is acidic, but it becomes alkaline, like lemon juice.
Mm-hmm.
We'll go, well, how is that possible? It's very possible because of the presence of vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants in the food,
Okay.
especially plant-based foods. And this is why organic is so important. Organic, it doesn't matter it doesn't matter how nutrient dense the food is. You spray it with Roundup, you are now introducing toxic pesticides, herbicides into the body. And when that's introduced, the net effect of that introduction is acid. The body, you're bringing a pesticide, which is always highly acidic to the body and highly damaging to the body in. So,
Mm-hmm.
so when you're doing organic foods, it's like, okay, yeah, now I know that's not a factor. So now really all I'm dealing with in terms of whether something is net effect alkaline or net effect acidic is really its nutrient density and
Mm-hmm.
how my body deals with it. So case in point, let's say we take an avocado, right?
Mm-hmm.
Delicious.
I know. You're making my mouth water.
Right, right. It's just you start thinking I mean, it's just one of the most incredible fruits in the
Yes, it
ever.
is.
Well, avocado is going to have number one, some chlorophyll in it. That's what gives it its green.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to have a good content of omega-6 fatty acids, which is an essential fatty acid for the body. So they say it's got fat, but yeah, it's the good fats. Yeah, it's the good fats. And it's going to have fiber in it as well. All right. So
Oh.
so fiber is going to help with the detoxification process. And it's so when you start putting all those things together, chlorophyll, and there's more in there than just this, but chlorophyll, chlorophyll is going to have magnesium,
Mm.
have omega-6 fatty acids in there, and you're going to have, fiber that helps with the detoxification of the system. The net effect of bringing that food into your body is now alkalizing because you're getting
Mm-hmm.
waste and you're supplying the body with nutrients if the food is organic.
Right.
Even though avocado is one of the lowest pesticide produce when you look at the environmental working groups work on
Oh,
this,
that's good to know.
they're dirty dozen. Grapes and apples are typically the highest, but avocados and fruits that have skins on them are typically the lowest. Mangoes, things like that. So
Mm-hmm.
you don't get too worried about non-organic. But I'm a real snob when it comes to organic foods. Like I'm just like I really don't want to eat it if it's not organic. I just really don't want to even chance it. So so far so good. Is that making sense so far? Because I'm
Yeah,
gonna
it makes total sense. Yeah.
okay. So now we have a situation where somebody is allergic to avocados. Poor soul.
Mm, yeah, that's terrible.
I've had one patient like that. Almost went outside afterwards and cried for her.
I
I
know
was
it is
just
terrible, actually.
like,
Yeah.
right. That's like could you imagine telling somebody your body hates avocado? What do you mean? I love no, but your body doesn't like. So if we test someone for delayed food allergies and they find that their immune system attacks avocados as a food,
Mm,
that attack on the avocados creates a very acidic environment. Okay, that's what the attack because the immune system's trying to break things down, so it creates a very acidic environment to help do that. So the net effect of that food, even though avocado for me and you would be alkalizing, because our body immune system's like, yeah, bring some more in. For that person, the net effect, even if it was organic, would be acidic. And that's where there's so when you start talking about nutrition and pH and the human body and health, you have to understand that we're not talking about an absolute model of 1 to 14 anymore. We're
Right.
talking about a relative model.
Hmm.
And the easiest way to understand the relative model is to say, okay, bloodstream likes to be at 7.35 to 7.45. My question is, when I ate something, did that increase in my blood alkalinity a little bit, or did it bring it down? Even a little, even like 0.2, zero point 0.3 points in pH is a huge thing for the body. So if we went above 7.45, I ate some foods and things like that. Maybe I took some potassium bicarbonate or something like that. That's going to be at about an 8 or a 9. I take that. What did I do? I raised the alkalinity. So actually, because I put nutrients in there, now the body is a little bit more alkaline. So now my bloodstream, it got thrown out of whack. So it's not it's not balanced. But what the body will do with that excess goodness is start storing it in the cells and
Hmm.
storing it in the space around the cells so that you get this really cool phenomenon here. Let me show a
Hmm.
picture of
Did you say take potassium bicarbonate? So what do you mean by that?
it. Yeah. I will take some potassium bicarbonate. There's sodium bicarbonate, which is baking soda, right?
Okay.
I prefer potassium bicarbonate because potassium bicarbonate, I get some potassium in the bloodstream, and potassium helps to stabilize alkalinity
Hmm.
in the
And
bloodstream.
what form is that? What is potassium bicarbonate?
It's just a powder like baking soda. It's something that Dr. Robert Young has put together, and I really like his product a lot. But he's got a really good product. It's called iJuice, and it's basically the mineral salts with a little bit of organic, because he's a big organic guy too. A little bit of organic lemon juice in it to give it a little bit of a flavor. You add it to water in the morning, drink it. Now what you've done is put some extra alkalinity in your bloodstream. That can't stay there because it's too alkaline for the bloodstream, so it's got to go somewhere. So what the body inevitably does when something is in the bloodstream and it can't stay there is it does several things. One is it tries to urinate or poop it out, right? That's the kidneys and liver act on it, get it out. But because these are mineral salts, the easiest thing for the body to actually do is to push it into the interstitial fluid around every cell.
Hmm.
So let me give a little visual on that for everybody. What's happening here?
So do you do this as a regular thing every morning?
Yeah, pretty much every morning, I do it. Sometimes you fall out of habit. Like we just moved, so I haven't done it in about a week or two. With all the packing and stuff like that. But I got it right on the counter. It's out there, so we're probably going to start it again tomorrow morning. Um, but you do that, and you get some alkalinity. The basic things I tell folks, Alexis, is that there are really four major alkalizing substances for the body. The first of which is going to be something like potassium bicarbonate. Like potassium bicarbonate is just one of the most alkalizing things that you can put in the body. Then chlorophyll. Chlorophyll is hugely alkalizing to the body. Okay, that's why I teach folks eat something green every day. Okay,
Hmm.
eat something with chlorophyll in it every day because it helps you make new red blood cells. And what you do when you make new red blood cells is you bind oxygen better and you get rid of carbon dioxide better. Oxygen being very alkalizing, carbon dioxide being very acidifying. So oxygen is very alkalizing as well. And then the last thing that's very alkalizing is love and happiness. You know, we don't think of emotions typically as having an effect upon our pH, but they have an enormous impact upon our pH. And when we're very stressed out, frustrated, upset, our body is producing a lot of adrenaline and a lot of cortisol, which are very acidifying to the body. Um, those hormones act to increase cellular function, and when you increase cellular function, there's going to be a lot of waste, and that's where the waste becomes more acidifying over
Hmm.
a short period of time. But when you're happy and when you are, um, just in love with life and hopefully in love with someone else, your body is actually getting bathed in alkalinity. You just don't have the same problems that other people have. It's something I've been asking a lot of kids now is, have they ever been in love? I'm talking kids, I'm talking about young college students and everything. It's like, well, have you ever been
Mhm.
in love? And you know what they say to me? The kids that I've asked so far,
Hmm.
they say, I think so. And I go,
Well, that kind of makes sense.
it makes perfect sense, but it's like, well, you haven't been in love, in my, you
Well,
know?
maybe they just don't want to admit it.
Right,
If
right,
you have
maybe,
any feelings about will it last? Is it reciprocated?
right, right.
You can
Well,
ask them, have you ever had a terrible crush before?
there you go. Maybe I need to change my terminology for it. 'Cause yeah, I mean, because the thing is, if whether it's reciprocated or not, for the moments that you're in love with someone, something, because you can be in love with something, a job or a purpose as well, something changes in your body chemistry. And what changes is that your body now isn't producing as much adrenaline, isn't producing as much cortisol, is producing instead more parasympathetic, rest and digest based neurotransmitters and hormones. And as that happens, your body is constantly in a state of self-healing, which is
Mm,
which is very interesting as well, especially in the microbiome. Can the microbiome be disrupted by foods and antibiotics and things like that? Yes. And can it be disrupted by stress? Absolutely.
mhm.
So it's like it's a two-way, it's one of those doors that does this, right? The
Yep.
saloon doors kind of thing. That's how it works. It's not a one-way street. So just to give everybody a visual, we have a cell here, and this cell is bathed in water. And it's called interstitial fluid. And you have to think about, well, what am I putting in that water? Well, am I inhaling? Am I vaping? Am I smoking cigarettes? Things like that. Am I inhaling acidity? Am I drinking sugary beverages with GMO, high fructose corn syrup in them? Stuff like that, right? Am I sedentary? um, you know are my thoughts and emotions very acidic? Well, then the water is going to be acidic as well. It's going to drop below 7.35, this water out here that surrounds the cell. And if that water is slightly acidic and the cell likes to be at 7.35, but that water is, let's say, at 7.0, right, just for a weird number, right, that means that relatively the cell likes to be at 7.35 at least, but outside of the cell is 7.0. Relative for this cell, this water is acidic.
Yeah.
And that water as acidic is going to lead to damage within the cell and the supporting structures. But if we change that water and just stop polluting, that water can start cleaning up. But now there still might still be damage in there. So we go with organic, right, and plant-based. This right here, this cleaner water, because we just stopped polluting the water. It got cleaner. But if we take that next step into an organic lifestyle, now we get even more. We get the oxygen coming in, we get the water coming in, we get the green foods, the chlorophyll, we feel the love, we get those organic phytonutrients, all those wonderful antioxidants and vitamins and minerals and extra things like fiber to help clear waste. We get our mitochondrial nutrients in and amino acids and vitamins and omega-3 fatty acids, and we move our body because that's how you keep that water flowing, and we start living our life with purpose, and maybe we're so happy that we feel a sense of bliss, that wonderful yoga brain after we do a great yoga class. We get a release of anandamide. Now what's floating around this cell is all of this wonderful environment of alkalinity. And now this cell can draw any of the things it needs to perform its functions, right?
That's wonderful. I've never heard of anandamide before.
Yeah, anandamide is the bliss molecule. It's the one that closely resembles THC. It's
Ah.
it's what our body makes when we are feeling like like not content isn't a good word. It's when we're feeling a fulfillment of purpose.
Mm.
Is when we get anandamide, but we also get anandamide release at the end of yoga classes when you lay down in shavasana. That's what you're the reason people get up and they're like, oh, hey, it's because dopamine and the dopamine and the endorphins that your body has released by working out, you're now resting for a few minutes to allow them to start really going into accelerated production. So
Mm.
this same phenomenon happens for runners. It's called a runner high.
Mhm.
And so it's just you get to a point where through cardiovascular stimulation, and I don't know if this is true through just pumping iron and stuff, but through cardiovascular stimulation, we know it happens that your body develops and releases a neurotransmitter called anandamide or the bliss molecule. And
Oh, cool.
anandamide is made from, guess what? Let's go full circle and talk avocados. It's made from omega 6 fatty acids,
Ah.
right? So this is why avocados create bliss in us. Right? It's like, oh wow, I really love avocados. Yeah, because it's going to be a great release of some good anandamide for you ultimately
Wow.
as well. I hope people listening in on this are getting that there's some really incredible things that foods can do. So we said we don't teach ideology at the Energetic Health Institute. We teach you the basics. We teach you anatomy, physiology, biochemistry. We teach it from a nutritional, holistic standpoint. So we show you how things integrate. And what that requires is a thought process. We teach you how to think, not what to think, right? So one of the teaching concepts, and we'll pick this up next week, but let's tease it right now, is net effect pH. Now that we've had this bigger conversation about absolute pH versus relative pH, we call relative pH what the foods do inside the body net effect pH, which for us is saying that hey, whatever you eat is going to have a net effect on that water around the cell.
Mhm.
Is that net effect alkalizing, like chlorophyll would be? Or is that net effect acidifying, like Roundup would
Mm.
be? Or like a GMO corn syrup would be, right? Which is whenever you're drinking any beverage out of a fountain, you are drinking GMOs. So you're also getting the GMO and pesticide residue. I can guarantee you,
Yeah.
right? Whatever's filling that space around the cell, that water around the cell, whatever's that comprised of, is going to determine whether the net effect is alkalizing or acidifying. And that's how I felt this should be taught to people.
Mhm.
Because I agree with folks that say it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense what we're teaching holistically for nutrition if you look at it through absolute eyes, right? Because what that absolute eyes suggests is that if it's acidic outside of the body, it's going to be acidic inside the body. Ooh, that's not how this works. Your body knows how to biotransform and utilize the nutrients to make something that's acidic outside of it alkalizing once it gets brought in. And lemons are the best example of that.
Yeah.
Okay. So here, let's take a look real quick at this and share a little visual here for everybody. So remember we said in the absolute model there was that fence, right? Alexis, there's that fence right at 7.0 where that's neutral. If you're less than 7, you're acidic. If you're greater than 7, you're basic or alkalizing, right?
Uh-huh.
Well, in a relative model, you use that same philosophy. So think of this right here as neutral, okay?
Okay.
And so what we put there were all the food categories and emotional state categories and lifestyle because it's never just foods that influence pH. It's everything that we do. Our entire experience every day influences our pH.
Mhm.
So we have our net effect pH number. And the further you get away from this midline, the more something becomes. So we have a +1 least alkalizing here, +2 alkalizing, +3 more alkalizing, +4 most alkalizing. Okay. And then we have a -1 least acidifying all the way to -4 most acidifying going this way. What we teach at the school is that when you're eating non-organic produce because of the pesticide residue and now the potential depending upon the food for GMO, genetic modification, we have to consider those foods the most acidifying that a person can eat.
Mhm.
Not healthy in any situation. So when we see that non-organic produce with pesticide residue, all GMOs, all confined animal feedlot meat, and all confined animal feedlot dairy products. I also put sodas and diet sodas with aspartame and NutraSweet, all the fake stuff, fake sugars, and the antibiotics and the shots, and and most medications, most of the pharmaceutical medications. That relatively is most acidifying,
Mhm.
because when you put those things in the body, they're going to get in the water around the cell, and they're going to make that water around the cell more acidic. Okay. So now what we have is, we could also add on there eating foods with high allergic immune reactivity and things like that.
Yeah.
But here's some other stuff: a person who's judgmental,
Yeah.
a person who is repressed or internalizes what they're feeling, a person who's sedentary and has a fast food, sugar, alcohol kind of lifestyle, a person who eats fast food 5 times per week. We give people a basic understanding of how this all works, right? Diagnosed a person who's not getting a lot of sleep because they're diagnosed with sleep apnea, like they're not recovering at night. These are all of the most acidic things that people experience and do to themselves. And what is it always under? The guise that these foods, especially, are not harmful, that they're actually healthy for you.
Mm.
You
Mhm.
can't spray something with poison and call it healthy.
Yeah.
That is ridiculous play of semantics. So this is an idea so that you can better understand how the foods you're putting in your body are promoting your health or not. The goal being that for us and what we teach, that 60% to 70, at least ideally 70% or higher, but at least 60% of your diet is organic, alkalizing. That's the goal, right?
Mhm.
How do we get there? Well, last night, let's see, for example, last night I made a fried rice, right, with no eggs. I can't do eggs because of an allergy. So
Oh.
yeah, no, that's a bummer. it's a, I love eggs so much, but it's a bummer. So I keep that out because that would have made it really acidifying for me, right?
Mhm.
But we have let me pull it up. I'll do a little thing with everybody here. We'll do mine today. All right. So here we go. I did fried rice last night. Let's see, what oils did we use? We used sunflower oil, so that would be a -1 on that meal. We kind of do a plus minus kind of thing overall, and we see, is this really going to be a plus meal for us? So sunflower oil was a minus. That's a -1. We also did a little bit of chicken here. So let's see, chicken, and it was organic, free range, and everything. So that's a -1 as well. So those two things so far are -2 on the meal. But then we also did broccolini. So broccolini would be over here in +4. We also did carrots. Carrots are going to be right here at +2, alkalizing. So now that's +6. We also did, what else did we do? We also did onions. So onions with all of that wonderful quercetin in them. Where are our onions? Right here, +2 as well. And then we did rice. So where are our grains? Right here. It's going to be over here. We did white rice, but even though it was organic, it's down here. So that's -3. So overall, let's just say we had -1, -1, -3. That's -5. But over here, we had roughly about 8. So overall, that meal would be a +3 for me. So
Mhm.
that now, and this is a conceptual thing. So is it an absolute, like, oh, great, it's guaranteed? No, we're not saying that. We're saying now I have a way of looking at my food and doing some simple stuff and going, okay, was that food? It was all organic. Was that food and that meal likely? And I'm getting hungry right now. I'm about to go heat some up. Was that food net effect alkalizing for my body or acidifying? And because we have it organized and you understand where foods fall, and I didn't put any pesticides into my body, I didn't put any GMOs into my body, and I didn't put any foods that I have a delayed food allergy to in my body. Now, there is some of the things I put in were still a little acidic for my body. The organic chicken, the rice, the things, the sunflower oil. But I also balanced it out with organic produce, right? The broccolini, the carrots, the onions. There was a few other things in there as well. I added a few more things in there too. But
Dr. Ealy, is this chart available on your website if they can get a copy?
it's available in my book. It's not available on the website. It is available in the book. What we would want them to do, Alexis, if they go to energetichealthinstitute.org, they can sign up and get the free eating book, the free ebook, The Art of Eating Healthy, and it's in there. It's in that chapter. So they can get it for free just by going to the website and signing up, and then they can have it and look at it. Keep in mind that version is really good, but I might have updated something that I just showed you. We are constantly tweaking and refining, and the book is the hardest thing in the world to update. It's easier to update stuff. So say if this intrigues you and you're watching, come and check us out at energetichealthinstitute.org. You might want to come and study with us. We got a lot to teach you. And can I just show real quick everybody where to go? It's super simple on the website.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's go right here. So if you go to energetichealthinstitute.org, and right below you see, but I already eat healthy. Are you sure? That's where you put in your first name and email address, and then you'll get this ebook, The Art of Eating Healthy, and it does have that chart in there. It has the net effect pH chart in there. So there you go.
Awesome, Dr. Ealy. This is so wonderful. I really appreciate you sharing all of this information for free to the members of the Organic Consumers
Yeah,
Association. This is amazing, and I hope that people will check out your website and sign up for classes. You do full nutrition training, but you also have classes that people can just drop into
right.
and take shorter sessions on distinct topics. So this is so exciting. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're super welcome. Yeah, we have our flagship holistic nutrition certification, which is 1,200 hours of nutrition education.
Wow.
Just for a comparison, the average doctor gets 19.6 hours of education and nutrition. So you
Wow.
will know way more than a doctor will ever know who doesn't do more studying. But we are on September 1st, we are officially releasing the Art of Cellular Healing. So that image I was showing you about that, we have about 30 videos in that class, but it's a do-it-yourself class. We have so the do-it-yourself classes that are you can just sign up for and take at your pace and do everything. If you want a more personalized approach, so that's when we'd say folks join us in the actual in the actual classrooms where we have teachers who are working with students every single day of the week, except Sundays. I give teachers Sundays off, but we have student teacher interactions ongoing right now, which is really exciting because we figured out how to make online education still feel like you're never alone. You
Yeah.
know,
Well, I encourage everybody to get the free ebook and to study up so we can have really intelligent conversations with Dr. Ealy, and I'll try to do the same.
amen. Did I ever send you the full book?
I got it. I did it on your website. Yeah. I signed
Okay.
in at some point. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, cool. I just want to make sure you got that. Yeah, so we got the full book is really cool. I mean, I'm biased, but the full book is pretty cool too because we get into the teaching concept that we'll talk about soon, which is the cycle of influencing energy, where we show how the body is fully connected. And once you start seeing that, you're like, why aren't they teaching us this? Why doesn't my doctor know this? That's the question I get the most. Why doesn't my doctor know this? I'm like, well, they weren't taught it, but they should be.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Well, hopefully there's some MDs listening
Yeah.
and watching.
Yeah. Hopefully.
They can get
Amen.
caught up.
All right. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Dr. Ealy. See you next week.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye bye.